kingdom, Vijayanagara. So now they are talking of the regional kingdoms. That means those were only specified to a particular region. They never were very elaborate kingdoms, or they were only fixed to a particular scattered areas. So now we talk of the Vijayanagara kingdom. The Vijayanagara temples had rectangular enclosures. Yeah, sorry. Okay. The Vijayanagara temples had rectangular enclosure walls with the gopuram in the middle of each side. Now there were rectangular walls built, and inside that wall were the temples. Most of the time, they were rectangular in shape, the areas of building the temple, and they had gopurams in the middle of each side. That means on all four sides they had entrances. A characteristic feature of this period was the development of the temple complex. Now, the specific feature were the temple complex. That means the inside area, the complex area where the complex was built, it was well developed. The Swami temple, underline it, the Vithala Swami temple, the Virupaksha temple are fine examples of temple architecture under the Vijayanagara rulers. The elephant stables of the Vijayanagara Empire were strongly influenced by the style of architecture found in the sultanates of Bijapur and Golconda. So now they are telling you the temple structures were so influential that even the elephant stables were built in more intricate ways. The architectural forms found in the elephant stables, where the elephants were kept for fighting, even they had those architectural skills which are very common in the temples. And the examples could be seen at Bijapur and Golconda. Please underline these two places. Now we talk of Bahmani kingdom. Now again, it was a regional kingdom just confined to a particular area. The sultans of the Bahmani kingdom built numerous mosques, madrasas, and libraries. The Gol Gumbaz of Bijapur, underline Gol Gumbaz, Bijapur, was built by the Bijapur kings. Please underline, and if it is not written, please write the name Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah. He had built that. The Gol
Ma'am, it is
Gumbaz,
written in my book.
beg your pardon, it is
Ma'am,
given in your book.
yes, ma'am, it is written in my book.
Okay, so there are certain books which do not have the names. Please write the name of the king, Sultan Muhammad Adil Shah. Then other monuments of this period are underlined Jama Masjid at Gulbarga, the madrasas at Mahmud Gawan, and the tomb of Bidar. Now, these are the few examples of the Bahmani kingdom's architectures, and they built not just the forts, they emphasized on building madrasas and libraries, etc., along with the mosques. The examples have been given. Now we come on to the Rajput kingdoms. They were also scattered to certain small areas only. The Rajput kings built many forts. The Mehergarh fort in Jodhpur, underline it, and the fort of Chittor are massive structures. The victory tower of Chittor was built by Rana Kumbha of Mewar. So please see this. These are the monumental structures built by the Rajput kingdoms under various Rajputs. And you saw that the Chandela Rajputs had built those Agra style architectures. Now, engineering skills and constructions. Now, this has your answer also, though I have given it in points and do it from there only. Do not these answers. Okay. Monuments provide an insight into the technologies used for construction. Now, between the 7th and the 10th centuries, architects began adding more rooms, doors, and windows to buildings and elaborate structure. So now, listen very carefully. They are talking of the engineering skills and constructions which were followed during the medieval times. So they are telling you that basically the structures which were built during these times from 7th century to 10th century, they were massive structures, and one more peculiar quality which was added was it had number of rooms, doors and windows. Now, roofs, doors and windows were still made by placing a horizontal beam across two vertical columns. Now, a horizontal beam was made across the two vertical columns, and this style is known as a trabate or corbel. Okay, this style is known as trabate or corbelled style, where the horizontal beam was made and over it two vertical columns were made, and then the doors and windows were constructed. Now, between the 8th and 13th centuries, this style was used in construction of temples, mosques, tombs, and buildings attached to large stepped wells. Now, there were, if you have seen, even in Lucknow, we have in the Bada Imambada, there are Baulis. Baulis were the places where water was preserved, a bath-taking area for queens, etc. was known as Baulis. So there were a number of steps attached. You go down those steps, there were multi-storied buildings, and in the end you got water pond or a water pool. Now, if you have visited Badai Mambada, you must have seen Baulis there. And outside the mosque of Badai Mambada also, you must have seen the structure where people can wash their hands and feet and then go to the mosque for praying. So there were pool structures also built, and they were known as baulis. And most of the time, they had the steps which were following to the wells. Clear till here? We move further. Two technologies and stylistic developments are quite noticeable from the 12th century. Now, what are they? Number one, the weight of the superstructure above the doors and windows was sometimes carried by arches. This architectural form was called arcuate. Now, gradually, the tribate or the cobbled structure gave away to the arched structure. That means every door or window had an arch-shaped built structure over them instead of the regular rectangular shape. Now it has changed to arc structures. So, number two, limestone cement was increasingly used in construction. Underline limestone cement. So, this was used for construction. This was very high quality cement, which, when mixed with stone chips, hardened into concrete. So, that means there were solid structures, the concrete structures. This made construction of large structures easier and faster. So because of the durability of the cement and the structures made more stern lasting and they were quick to be built. Now, the Agra fort required 2,000 stone cutters, 2,000 cement line makers, and 8,000 laborers. Now, they have given you the numbers of the people required to build the Agra fort, which is a massive structure. If you visit Agra, you should go and see the Agra fort. Architecture of the Sultanate period. The Turkish rulers introduced New styles and techniques of architecture. This style was called Indo-Islamic style. Please underline the term Indo-Islamic. That means the Indian style along with the mixture with the coming of the Muslims, it changed into a mixture and it was known as Indo-Islamic. Numerous places, mosques and forts were built under this style. The two forts in the building were the arc and the domes, underlined arcs and domes. That means arches were made and the dome shaped structure. That means ऊपर से वो गोल हो जाना. That was the dome shape. Okay. Some buildings also use the minaret. Minarets means minare. So many of the structures have minare also, minarets. If you observe Taj Mahal, you'll see it has the minarets as well as it has arches and domes. Now the Turks used red sandstone in their buildings. Floral and geometric patterns decorated the buildings. So there were floral patterns made and decorations of the buildings were elaborately done. Some buildings and towers had verses from the Holy Quran engraved on them. So now many of the buildings had the verses from the Quran, the holy book of Muslims. Those verses were engraved as a decorative material so that the people coming to these places, visiting these places, could even read them and get inspired by them. Among the earliest buildings of this type were the mosques at Delhi and Ajmer, built by Kutubuddin Aibak. These were the Kuwat ul Islam Mosque in Delhi and Adhai Din Ka Jhopda in Ajmer. Please underline these two structures. Kuwat ul Islam Mosque in Delhi and Adhai Din Ka Jhopda, Ajmer. Next, Alauddin Khilji enlarged the Kuwat ul Islam and added a gateway called Alai Darwaza. So now the mosque, Quwwatul Islam Mosque, which was built by Qutbuddin Aibak. Later on, when Khilji rulers came, it was under Alauddin Khilji. He also elaborated this structure, this mosque, by providing it a gateway called Alai Darwaza. Ishwar. Allah is the Ishwar, the God, and Darwaza is the door. It is made of red sandstone. Inscriptions in calligraphy adorn the structure. Now, calligraphy is the stylish way of writing. Calligraphy means the stylish way in which you write. So, the beautiful writings were depicted all over in red sandstone structures which were made. Okay. Now, the Qutub Minar is one of the best examples of Indo-Islamic architecture. Underline Qutub Minar. It has not just the Indian structure style mixed, but also the Islamic as well. The first floor was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak and the rest by Iltutmish around 1229. Please underline that. And who constructed Qutub Minar? It was started by Qutbuddin Aibak and later on his forerunner Iltutmish took up the task of building the other stories. Underline the date 1229. Now the fort of Tughlaqabad, Firoz Shah Kotla and the tombs of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq and Sikandar Lodi were built by the Tughlaq, Sayyid and Lodi kings. Now they have just given you one or two names of the structures which were built under the Tughlaqs, Sayyids and Lodis. So you can underline Fort of Tughlaqabad, then Firoz Shah Kotla and tombs of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. You can see Quatul Islam Mosque, Delhi. This is the picture showing the Adhai Din Ka. Sorry, the picture is showing here Alai Darwaza also. Okay. Now, the Qutub Minar, they have given you the detail about the structure. The Qutub Minar is 5 stories high. The first floor was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak in the year 1199 AD, and the rest was built by Iltutmish around 1229. Over the years, it was damaged by lightning and earthquakes and was repaired by Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firoz Tughlaq, and Ibrahim Lodi. The first balcony was the small arches and geometrical designs. Can you see this balcony area? So the first balcony, especially, they have told you that it had elaborate structures. Okay, the small arches and geometrical designs. There are two bands of inscriptions under the balcony. The surface of the minar is curved and angular. Can you see the angular structure? It is not a straight structure, it is angular, it is circular in form, forming an angle. Okay, at every twist and turn. Can you see these angles here? Can you see these points here? Okay, these were the angular structures, yet with great skill and precision, the inscriptions in Arabic were placed. No doubt, no doubt the Minar inspired awe and applause in observers in the 13th century, with when few buildings were made of stone or brick. So basically, red sandstone was used, and other than that, the stones or bricks could be used. Now, coming on to the Mughal architecture. Now, they are talking about the Mughal architecture in general, telling about the coming of the Mughals from Babur till Aurangzeb. Let's see what kind of structures they built. The Mughals built many forts, palaces, mosques, gardens, baulis, public buildings, etc. This period saw architecture at its zenith, both in terms of number and style. So now, under the Mughal rulers, from the coming of Babur till Aurangzeb, this whole period saw massive constructions, massive monuments, and the building of these architectures reached its zenith. That means it reached its peak under the Mughal rulers. Mughal architecture blends the Persian and the Indian styles. Underline the Persian and the Indian style. Now, Babur built many palaces at Agra, Sikri, and Dholpur. You can underline these places. He built the mosques in Kabuli Bagh at Panipat. Underline the works taken over by Babur. Kabuli Bagh at Panipat. And the Jama Masjid at Sambhal. Underline Jama Masjid, Sambhal. Both these mosques exist even today. Babur had introduced the concept of garden palaces in India. So it was coming of Babur. He introduced that every structure in front of them there was elaborate garden structure also. So it was under him with the coming of the Mughals that the concept of garden was introduced. Yeah, every structure had a garden area in front of it. Sher Shah completed the construction of Purana Killa at Delhi, underline Purana Killa, underline Delhi. His tomb at Sasaram in Bihar is situated in the middle of a lake. It has a huge dome. I'm sorry. So now they're telling you that his tomb at Sasaram, which is in Bihar, is actually situated in the middle of a lake and it's a domed structure. Okay. Then we talk of Akbar. Please switch off your mic. I could hear the rustling of the pages. The reign of Akbar saw the fusion of Persian, Central Asian, and Indian styles of architecture. Please underline the styles. This had the Persian, the Central Asian, and the Indian style. This style is reflected in the buildings of Fatehpur Sikri, the new capital that Akbar built near Agra. So you can see underline Fatehpur Sikri, Agra, built near Agra. Now, this had the Persian, Central Asian, and Indian style of architecture. Now, the Buland Darwaza, the palace of Birbal, Jodhabai's palace, underline these, the Panch Mahal, are all built of red sandstone. Only the tomb of Sheikh Salim Chishti is built of white marble. So you need to just know this, that only the tomb of, yes, was built of white marble. Okay, so underline this, that Salim Chishti, Sheikh Salim Chishti, his tomb was built of white marble, and the other structures had red sandstone as a material to be used. Akbar also built many forts, palaces, and tombs. He built the Agra fort on the banks of Yamuna River. Underline Yamuna River. The fort is protected by a high wall made of red sandstone. It has two big gateways, one each on its southern and western side. Inside the Agra fort is the beautiful Jahangiri Mahal. It has other monuments which were later added by Emperor Shah Jahan. Prominent among them are the Khas Mahal, Moti Masjid, and the Diwane Am. These different form, these differ from the monuments built during Akbar's time, as these were built in marble. So now you know that Agra fort, which was made by Akbar, was later on inside it. There were various substructures constructed like Khas Mahal, Moti Masjid, etc., Diwane Am. All this was built by the other rulers like Shah Jahan, who followed Akbar after that. Okay, and the Jahangiri Mahal, etc. All these structures were later on made. Who is being disobedient? So since the time is up, I'll stop here. And please, children, I had yesterday given you, it was late night when I gave you the, what do you call it? The question answers. I hope you saw them. Did you see
Yes,
the,
ma'am.
I'm sorry for
Yes,
the,
ma'am.
I'm sorry for sending the